Yo, what is going on, guys? Flashverse here, and welcome back to another video on The Flash. And for this video I have something very interesting to go over, and essentially over on Reddit I was able to find the original plan for the Flash TV series from the Flash season 1 all the way till the Flash season 5, because obviously these seasons are thought out, so there are several different drafts in regards to what they have originally planned versus what they ended up with. And some of them are incredibly interesting and huge missed opportunities, and others not so much. So for this video I'll be breaking down everything to what was originally planned for the Flash season 1 all the way till the Flash season 5, and I'll be giving you guys my thoughts in regards to what they have originally planned, and was it or was it not better than what we ended up with. But before I go over anything, however, you guys don't forget to drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel so you are aware of more Arrowverse content coming your way. Okay, so starting off with, obviously, The Flash Season 1. Barry uses his forensic abilities to determine his enemies' weaknesses and defeats them like that. This was changed so that the rest of Team Flash could have a more active role in the missions. Now, this is something that I wish that they kept. Just imagine seeing Barry determining his enemies' weaknesses while using his forensic abilities. Like, how cool is that? But in the version of the show that we got, obviously that isn't the case. Barry gets way too much help from Team Flash, so this is why I wish that they kept this, or just to give Team Flash more of a role. We could have at least seen Barry being able to determine his enemies' weaknesses every once in a while at least. But on the other hand, I do understand why they changed it to what we got. But nonetheless, it would have still been really cool to see Barry being able to do this. Iris is a psychology student interning at the CCPD as a junior criminal profiler. This was changed to be closer to the comics. Now, this change was for the better, in my opinion. Giving Iris that journalist arc was something that needed to happen, so thankfully that they changed that to a more comic book accurate story for Iris to follow. Eddie is a douchebag hotshot who dislikes Barry. He was transferred to Central City after accidentally killing his partner and covering it up to protect his career. This was changed as they thought making Barry's rival a nice guy was more of an interesting take. Now, this one is very interesting, and seeing Eddie being a douche would have been really nice to see as well, and building that up to him potentially getting exposed would have been cool to see as well. But again, what they went for during season 1 was for the better, in my opinion. Caitlin is older and had a past relationship with Professor Thawne, and her not so dead boyfriend is Kyle Nimbus, aka The Mist. She was aged down to replace Hartley in the core trio, and her fiance was changed to Ronnie Raymond, aka Firestorm, to be closer to the comics. Now, firstly, when they see Professor Thawne, that was originally Harrison Wells. Before they changed it to Harrison Wells, his name was Professor Thawne. But thank God they didn't do that to Caitlin. Caitlin is just such a great character the way she is. But also, Eobard having a relationship just wouldn't be something that I would have wanted to see, because this would have given him a soft spot for someone whilst being a full-on main antagonist. So I like what they went with, but I think what they went with for the show was a lot better. Hartley is part of Team Flash and has a friendly rivalry with Cisco, and is initially more concerned with salvaging his career than protecting the scene. This was changed to streamline the cast. Caitlin took over his role. Now, once again, I very much prefer Caitlin in the role over Hartley, but also you have to take into account that during Arrow Season 2, we had Caitlin and Cisco making the appearance. So all of a sudden, if we had Hartley taking up Caitlin's spot, that really wouldn't have made too much sense. So I'm glad that they stuck with Caitlin. Joe is killed by the Mist in the pilot episode. This was changed because Jesse L. Martin was too awesome to waste. Now, this would have been treason. Joe is my third favorite Flash character, just under Eobard and Barry. Joe is just amazing, so thankfully they kept him on the show. Snart and Rory are metahumans. This was changed to be closer to the comics. Dr. Light would be featured as a metahuman former Star Lab scientist seeking in revenge against Harrison Wells. Hartley likely took over his role. Now, at this point in the draft, they did change Professor Thawne into Harrison Wells. Barry and Caitlin would hook up. This was changed after Grant Gustin suggested that they sped up the Barry and Iris relationship. Okay, so there are a lot of people who would get triggered by this, because I know that there are so many Snowberry shippers out there. Now, this would have been interesting to see, but at the end of the day, it was always supposed to end up with Barry and Iris eventually. And once Barry and Caitlin broke up and Iris joined Team Flash, just like, think of how awkward their character interactions would have been. So although I wouldn't have minded Snowberry for a temporary thing, I still think West Allen was the better fit. The Reverse Flash's identity would not have been Harrison Wells, but would have been Professor Thawne, aka Eobard Thawne. Now, just like how I mentioned before, this was in the very first installment, and thank God they changed it. The Harrison Wells mystery being revealed as the Reverse Flash made my jaw drop when I watched The Flash Season 1. The mystery with that character was insane, and it's by far one of the best things the show has ever done. Whereas if they made it Professor Thawne, people could have just googled it and found out who the Reverse Flash was like that. So I rather prefer the Harrison Wells mystery. That was just a million times better. Okay, so going into The Flash Season 2. Zoom is Earth-2's Barry Allen. This was changed because the writers fell in love with the Jay Garrick / Hunter Zolomon twist. They still used most of Earth-2 Barry's original characterization for Hunter Zolomon. Now, since Season 2 focused on the multiverse, most of people were already assuming at the start that Zoom could have been like Earth-2 Barry or something like that. Just like what I said during the Harrison Wells thing, the fake Jay Garrick Zoom, that was such an insane reveal and once again made it more mysterious and just so much more gripping. So I love what they went with, and thank God they didn't go with the Earth-2 Barry Allen thing, because let's be honest, if there was a multiverse and stuff like that and we see an Earth-2 Barry Allen, you would obviously think that we would have had an evil speedster Barry Allen after all. Jay is not Zoom, but a speedster from Earth-2 who joins forces with Barry to stop Zoom. They clash at first, but slowly become friends, and Jay grows into a true hero. He would still hook up with Caitlin, but this was changed due to the Hunter Zolomon and Jay Garrick twist. So once again, what they went for was much better, despite this storyline being interesting as well. Patty was supposed to stick around and learn Barry's identity as the Flash, and she would eventually join Team Flash. She would have likely been promoted to a main cast for Season 3. Now, this would have been cool to see because Patty was great. I really liked Patty. But we know that she was written out of the show because she had like some sort of like a falling out with the showrunner, I believe. So that was why she left early into Season 2, is because the showrunner literally just wrote her off. Iris would actually date her editor, Scott Evans, for a while, since Barry and Patty were not supposed to break up so soon. And obviously once Patty left, then obviously they had to rush with the Barry and Iris relationship. Ronnie was supposed to stick around, but had to be killed off and replaced by Jax when Robbie Amell couldn't commit to Legends of Tomorrow. General Eiling was supposed to be a recurring antagonist for Firestorm, but he was cut out when Ronnie was killed and Stein and Jax moved to Legends of Tomorrow. Legends of Tomorrow was originally envisioned to be a mid-season show, and Snart and Rory were at one point supposed to come back to the Flash and keep assembling the Rogues. Now again, I do really like Legends of Tomorrow, but this would have been so much better. Every episode with Snart was so good. That dynamic with Barry that he had was amazing, and no one can top the original Rogue. So I would have loved to see this Rogue setup being a thing for the show. The real Jay Garrick was originally planned to be Earth-3's Eddie Thawne rather than Earth-3's Henry Allen. Now again, this would have been really cool to see, but doing Earth-3's Henry Allen was for the better. Not only did it allow John Wesley Shipp to return as a speedster, but it really suited that mentor role for Barry, as he has the face of his father as well. So I prefer the Earth-3 Henry Allen thing. I think it worked a lot better, but it would have been very, very interesting to see the Earth-3's Eddie Thawne. Now moving on to Season 3. The writers admitted that they did not fully plan this season, resulting into many forgotten plot points like the Star Labs Museum, Savitar's plan for Jesse, the appearance of the Accelerated Man, and more. So you guys know I do not like The Flash Season 3, and as you guys can see over here, it isn't even well thought out. Look at how cool it would have been if they took these plot points into account, but obviously we got none of that. And instead of getting like, Accelerated Man being introduced, we only had him like a 10-second cameo. And bringing in like the Star Labs Museum would have been something very cool as well. And Savitar's plan for Jesse, that would have been very interesting to see. Mirror Master and Top were meant to replace Snart and Rory as the leaders of the Rogues, but fans didn't really respond to them, and Grey Damon was cast in a movie shortly afterwards and had to be written out, axing the new Rogue storyline. Once again, I wouldn't have minded this at all. Yes, they weren't great characters, but I just would have loved to see this Rogue setup since they didn't go for the Snart and Rory thing. Because after all, like the OG Rogues are always the best, and I will get to more of the new Rogues later on. The rival was at some point considered for a recurring role as Wally's own speedster rival, while Savitar would be for Barry. Now, look how good this sounds. This would have been epic. Now yes, the rival wasn't too great of a villain either to begin with, but at least it gave Wally something to do, so it would have been really cool to see the rival being Wally's villain and obviously having Savitar as Barry's villain. Julie and Albert was supposed to struggle against Savitar's influence and the return of Dr. Alchemy throughout the season, but they never really did that after Team Flash freed him in the mid-season finale. Okay, so moving on to Season 4. Julian was going to be promoted to a main cast during the Flash Season 4 before Tom Felton ultimately decided not to return. Now obviously they didn't do this because as far as I remember, Tom Felton was too expensive to keep. That's what I remember. I could be wrong about that. I know it says over here that Tom Felton didn't want to return, but I think that he was too expensive to keep. That was the only reason he left. And obviously they had to write him off and bring in Ralph Dibny. Gypsy would recur throughout the season and stay with Cisco, but had to be written out when Jessica Kamiko, I think that's how you pronounce her name, was cast in another show. Again, this would have been great to see as well because I prefer Cisco and Gypsy over Cisco and Camilla. I just really liked how they had the same powers and that attachment, it was just great. So I would have loved for Gypsy to stick around. But again, I do understand why they didn't go with that because obviously the actress had to be going because she got cast for another show. Jesse had to be written out due to Violet Bean's other commitments, and Wally was moved to Legends of Tomorrow shortly afterwards. Big Sur was supposed to recur later on in the season and figure into Devo's plans somehow, but never did. Now, I really liked Big Sur, especially with that prison storyline with Barry. I thought it was great. I thought Big Sur was a great character, but I have no idea how they were going to go with this, so thankfully they did not move forward with it. Tracy Brand was also supposed to return, but never did. Now, as far as I'm aware, this was because they killed off HR, so there was really no point of having her, so they just wrote her off the show. Now, this one. Amunet was envisioned as a secondary antagonist with her own team of metahuman henchmen, but was slowly changed into more of an anti-hero. Now, I cannot believe they nearly went for this. Arguably the most awful Flash character under some certain others, which I will get to later on. I cannot believe she was going to be like a main antagonist, but we do have to thank her for also bringing in the most legendary character of all, #DaddyLikesTheMetal, but honestly, I cannot believe they nearly went for Amunet Black being a secondary antagonist. Thank God they didn't move for that. There were rumors about a two-parter set in Earth-3 exploring Jay's backstory and introducing his mysterious female protege, and that didn't come through. Oh my god, this would have been insane to see. These multiverse travel episodes were so much fun. That season 2 episode with the Earth-2 storyline, it was great. It was so much fun. This would have been really cool to see. Exploring Earth-3 would have been great. Now, I always wanted to see who Jay's speedster was, like who was he training. I always went for Ivory Ho because I thought that was like the best option, but seeing that female protege would have been really cool to see. Okay, so moving on to the worst season of The Flash and the final one in the list, The Flash Season 5. There were rumors that Sue Dibney would be introduced as a digital influencer who teams up with Iris for a new project. Considering there's been a digital influencer, Spencer Young aka Spin, and Iris is embarking on the new project, The Central City Citizen, there was probably some truth to that. Now, I personally like the mystery that they added with Sue Dearborn during The Flash Season 6. I thought it was a great storyline. I would very much rather have that with what they went for over what they have originally planned. So thank God they didn't move forward with that. A deleted scene alluded to Weather Wizard reforming the Rogues with Ragdoll as his first recruit, which seemed to have been dropped in favor of the young Rogues formed by Weather Witch, Silver Ghost, and Spin. Who in their right mind scrapped that? As I said, nothing tops the original Rogues, and yes, although it wouldn't have exactly been the original Rogues, we would have at least had one member being a member of the OG Rogues, that obviously being Weather Wizard. And why would you swap it with Weather Witch, Silver Ghost, and Spin? The three worst characters that the show has ever brought. I do not want to see these characters' faces again. Why would you swap Weather Wizard for them? Any time of the day, I would literally rather watch a Goldface spin-off show than see these Rogues again. Thank God we haven't seen them in a while, and hopefully we do not see them again, because these guys are the worst characters to ever exist. I would prefer the Weather Wizard thing all the way, and seeing him reform the Rogues with Ragdoll would have been very interesting to see as well. So I wish that they went for that. But yeah guys, thanks for watching. If you guys have enjoyed the video, please give a like and subscribe. Tell me in the comment section down below which of the original plans would you guys have loved to see brought into the show. And yeah, I will see you guys in my next video.